Hello everyone, welcome to Vishnu IAS Previous Year Question Paper Revision Day 14. In the same YouTube channel, there is another free crash course for Prelims 2020 by Vishnu sir. He will be discussing about the prelims oriented topic. And join our Telegram channel to get info about the daily current affairs. First question is from 2018 question paper. The well-known painting Bani Thani belongs to Bundi School, Jaipur School, Kamgra School, Kishangarh School. And your answer is D. That is Kishangarh School is the correct answer. Let's see the explanation. Bani Thani refers to the Indian miniature painting painted by Nihal Chand from the Marwar school of Kishangarh. It portrays a woman who is elegant and graceful. The painting subject Bani Thani was a singer and poet in Kishangarh in the time of King Shawat Singh. Bani Thani is characterized by idealized distinct features such as arched eyebrows. The picture is given here, you can see here. Arched eyebrows, lotus-like elongated eyes and pointed chin. A highly idealized facial form reminiscent of Indian sculpture art. So according to this, it is a miniature painting painted by Nihal Chand from Marwar school of Kishangarh. So answer is D. Next is from 2011 question paper. Westerlies in the southern hemisphere are stronger and persistent than in northern hemisphere. Why? Southern hemisphere has less landmass as compared to the northern hemisphere. Coriolis force is higher in southern hemisphere as compared to the northern hemisphere. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. And your answer is A. That is, only first statement is correct. Southern hemisphere has less landmass as compared to the northern hemisphere. Let's see the explanation. The Coriolis force is an inertial or fictitious force that acts on objects that are in motion within a frame of reference that rotates with respect to an inertial frame. It was dependent only on the rotation of Earth. Westerlies in southern hemisphere are stronger and persistent than in northern hemisphere because southern hemisphere has less landmass as compared to the northern hemisphere. The higher speed and the greater persistence of westerlies in southern hemisphere are caused by difference in atmospheric pressure patterns as well as its variation from that of northern hemisphere. The landmass in the southern hemisphere is comparatively less than average annual pressure decreases much more rapidly on the poleward side of the high pressure belt. Okay, so according to this, statement 1 is correct. So as far as Coriolis force is concerned, it is strongest in the polar region and zero at the equator. Okay, so answer is A. Next is from 2016 question paper. What are the purpose or purposes of government's sovereign gold bond scheme and gold monetization scheme? To bring the ideal gold lying with Indian households into the economy, to promote FDI in the gold and jewelry sector, to produce India's dependence on gold imports. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Only 1, 2 and 3, 1 and 3, 1, 2 and 3. Your answer is C. That is 1 and 3 is correct and second statement is wrong. Let's see the explanation. In the year 2015, the Prime Minister of India launched 3 gold related schemes. Okay, the 3 gold related schemes are Gold Sovereign Bond Scheme, Gold Monetization Scheme and Indian Gold Coin Scheme. First, you should know what is this 3 schemes about. Okay, the Gold Sovereign Scheme is launched with an aim to reduce the demand for physical gold. That is, thereby keeping a tap on imports of gold in India and utilizing the resources effectively. This scheme offers the same benefits as of physical gold. When people invest sovereign gold bond scheme, they get a paper against their investment instead of a gold bar or gold coin. Okay, that is the sovereign gold bond scheme. Next is Gold Monetization Scheme. It is a modification of existing Gold Metal Loan Scheme (GML) and the Gold Deposit Scheme. So the Gold Monetization Scheme came into being to replace the existing Gold Deposit Scheme 1999. This scheme is launched with an idea to ensure mobilization of gold owned by families and the Indian institutions. It is expected that Gold Monetization Scheme would turn gold into productive asset in India. So the gold monetization scheme is launched with an aim to help the investors earn interest on their gold lying idle in the bank lockers. This scheme works well in gold savings account, which will earn interest on the gold that you deposit, but based on their weight with the appreciation in the value of gold. Investors can keep gold in any physical form. It can be either jewelry or bar or coins. That is the gold monetization scheme. Next is your gold coins scheme. This is a third scheme launched by Government of India, and this is the first national gold coin which have the image of Ashok Chakra minted on one side of the face and another on the face of Mahatma Gandhi on the other side. The coin is currently available in the denomination of 5 gram, 10 gram and 20 gram. This allows even those with a small appetite to buy gold under this scheme. Okay, so these are the three schemes. So the major motive behind all three schemes is to help crucial gold imports and utilize at least 20 tons of the precious metal owned by Indian household institutions of India. So the gold monetization scheme launched by Government of India in 2015 aim is to run the unused gold which is lying idle at our households or institutions into a productive asset. The aim was to mobilize gold and further facilitate its use for the productive purposes. Okay. Next is sovereign gold bond schemes are the government securities denominated in grams of gold. They are substitutes for holding physical gold. Investors can have to pay the issue price in cash and the bonds will be remitted in cash on maturity. Investors are assured of the market value of gold at the time of maturity and periodical interest. Okay, so when you know what is the three schemes are about, then it will be easy for you to answer this question. So according to this, first and third statement is correct. So answer is C. Next is from 2014 question paper. With reference to Agni 4 missile, which of the following statements are correct? It is a surface to surface missile. It is fueled by liquid propellant only. Liquid propellant only they have mentioned. It can deliver 1 ton nuclear warheads about 7,500 km away. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Only 1, 2, 1, 3, 1 and 3, 1, 2, 1, 3. And your answer is A. That is only 1. That is only first statement is correct. And let's see the explanation. Agni 4 fire is the fourth in the Agni series of missiles which was earlier known as Agni 2 prime. It has been developed by India's DRDO and displayed a number of new technologies and significant improvement in the missile technology. The missile is lightweight and has 2 stages of solid propulsion and payload with re-entry heat shielded. With 3,500 to 4,000 km range, it is capable of striking targets in nearly all of mainland China if launched from northeastern part of India. Okay, this is the Agni 4. So answer is A. Next is 2013 question. Which one of the following describes the best concept of nirvana in Buddhism? The extinction of the flame of desire, the complete annihilation of self, a state of bliss and rest, a mental stage beyond all comprehension. All these are somewhat little bit connected to each other. So all the options look something it is related to Buddhism. So let's see the correct answer. Answer is A. The extinction of flame of desire. Let's see the explanation. Nirvana is the goal of Buddhist path. The literal meaning of the term is blowing out or quenching. It is the ultimate spiritual goal in Buddhism. It is the liberation from the cycles of rebirth. Is the highest aim of the Theravada tradition. Nirvana is the then explained a state of without desire, without love, without wish, and one without carving or thirst. So answer is without desire, without extinction of the flame of desire. So A and C is little bit closer to each other, but when you see the best option, they are asking, describe the best concept they are asking. So when it is the best concept, answer is A according to your UPSC answer key also. This is from 2015. Which of the following has or have been accorded geographical indication status? Already we have seen one more question in previous videos, okay, about the geographical indication. First option is, first statement is all about Banaras brocades and saris, Rajasthani dal bati churma, Tirupati laddu. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. So all will be very confident about Tirupati laddu. Okay, and remaining 2, which is the correct. Okay, so when you see third option, B, C and D is there, option A is eliminated. Okay, so let's see, either 1 or 2 should be true. Answer is C. Answer is 1 and 3 is the correct answer. Let's see. First, you should know what is a geographical indication. A geographical indication is a sign used on products that have a specific geographical origin and possess qualities or a reputation that are due to that origin. So, in order to function as GI, a sign must identify a product as originating in a given particular place. Okay, over the years, when you see Banarasi silk handloom industry have been incurring huge losses because of competition from mechanized units producing the Varanasi silk sarees at a faster rate and at cheaper cost. And another source of competition has been sarees made from cheaper synthetic alternative to silk. Okay, so this Banarasi brocades and sarees, when you see in 2009, after 2 years of wait, Weaver Association in Uttar Pradesh secured the GI rights for the Banaras brocades and sarees. GI is an intellectual property right which identifies a good as origin in the certain region, which are given quality, reputation and other characteristic of the product is essentially attributable to its geographical origin. Dal bati is an Indian dish of dal lentils and bati, hard wheat rolls. It is popular in Maharashtra, Khandesh and Vidarbha region, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, especially in Braj, Nimar and Malwa regions. Okay, this picture is about viewing a Banarasi brocade saree. Okay. The next one is to prevent the black marketing of Tirupati laddus in 2008, Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam registered the GI tag. In 2009, Tirupati laddu was registered as a geographical indication under the category foodstuff under GI Act 1999. This has preserved others from preparing or naming the sweet with same name. This is the Tirupati laddu and this is the dal bati. Next is from 2015 question paper. Biocarbon Fund Initiative for Sustainable Forest Landscape is maintained by Asian Development Bank, International Monetary Fund, United Nations Environment Program, World Bank. And your answer is D, that is World Bank. Biocarbon Fund Initiative for Sustainable Forest Landscape. Okay, let's see the explanation. The Biocarbon Fund Initiative for Sustainable Forest Landscape is a multilateral fund supported by donor governments and managed by the World Bank. It is managed by World Bank. So, answer is D. It seeks to promote reduced greenhouse gas emission from the land sector, from deforestation and forest degradation in developing countries, from sustainable agriculture as well as a smarter land use planning policies and practices. It's a very simple form of explanation I have given you about the Biocarbon Fund Initiative for Sustainable Forest Landscape. If you want, you can read it detail also. Next is from 2017 question paper. The mind of the makers of the Constitution of India is reflected in which of the following? Preamble, fundamental rights, the directive principles of state policy, the fundamental duties. And your answer is A, that is the preamble. Let's see the explanation. The preamble refers to the preface of the Constitution. It embodies the basic philosophy and the fundamental values on which Indian Constitution is based, that is moral, political and religious. As it reflects the dreams of founding father of the Constitution, SC has held the preamble is a key to understanding the mind of the Constitution makers. It contains the essence of the entire Constitution. The Constituent Assembly first met on December 9, 1946 and the preamble to the Constitution based on the objective resolution drafted and moved by Pandit Nehru on December 30, 1947. Okay, so the preamble is a key to understand the mind of the Constitution makers. Next is from 2010 question paper. Which feature of some species of blue-green algae helps to promote them as a biofertilizers? They convert atmospheric methane into ammonia, which the crop plants can absorb easily. They induce the crop plants to produce enzymes which help convert atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates. Or C, they have the mechanism to convert atmospheric nitrogen into a form that the crop plants can absorb readily. And D option is they induce the roots of the crop plants to absorb the soil having nitrates in larger quantities. Okay, first option they are saying they convert the atmospheric methane into ammonia. And second, they are saying induce the crop plants to produce enzymes. And third option, what they are saying is about it. They have the mechanism to convert the atmospheric nitrogen into the form that the crops can absorb. And the fourth option is they induce the roots of crop plants to absorb the soil having nitrates in large quantities. And answer is C. That is, they have the mechanism to convert the atmospheric nitrogen into the form that the crop plants can absorb readily. And your explanation is, during the crop growth cycle, the blue-green algae grow, multiply, fix atmospheric nitrogen and make it available to the crop by way of excretion and autolysis. Cyanobacteria, also known as the blue-green algae. Okay, cyanobacteria is also, this is a cyanobacteria or blue-green algae. They have specialized call, that is heterocyst. It fixes the nitrogen. It forms a significant component of the marine nitrogen cycle and is an important primary producer in many areas of the ocean. They are, but are also found in habitats other than the marine environment also. Okay, so this is the blue-green algae and your answer is C. That is, it helps to convert the, they have the mechanism to convert the atmospheric nitrogen into the form that the crop plants can absorb easily. And your last question is from 2019 question paper. With reference to the forced labor Vishti in India during the Gupta period, which one of the following statement is correct? Option A, it was considered a source of income for the state, a sort of tax paid by the people. It was totally absent in Madhya Pradesh and Kathiawar regions of the Gupta Empire. The forced laborer was entitled to weekly wages. The eldest son of the laborer was sent as a forced laborer. And the answer is A. That is, it was considered a source of income for the state, a sort of tax paid by the people. Okay, with reference to the forced labor Vishti. Let's see the explanation. Forced labor Vishti became more common than before in the Gupta period. The fact that it is mentioned along with the taxes in the land grant inscriptions suggests that Vishti was considered as a source of income for a state, sort of tax paid by the people. The fact that most of the inscription referring Vishti comes from Madhya Pradesh, Kathiawar regions may suggest that this practice for more prevalent in these areas. That is, this Vishti practice is more prevalent in Madhya Pradesh and Kathiawar regions. Okay, so answer is A. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe our channel. Do subscribe our channel. Thank you.